Are you wondering about sacred medicines and how to grow them yourself? Maybe you're tired of buying your sage from a store and you want to make sure the sage that you use for smudging is harvested sustainably. I have good news for you. Buying sage doesn't have to be your only option. If you love working with plants and are ready to be part of nurturing and growing sacred medicines like sage, then this video is for you. Hey there, I'm Mallory. Thanks for joining us on the Tribal Trade channel. Each week, we post new videos on smudging, the Indigenous culture, and Native teachings. I'm so happy to have you here this week and can't wait to get started. If you are eager to watch more videos just like this one, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll never miss out. Sage is considered sacred in the Indigenous culture due to its cleansing, calming, and spiritual properties. Many of us might use sage for smudging, but don't know much about how it's grown. If you're just getting started with sage and you want to learn more about growing it on your own, then keep watching. Growing sage takes time and patience, but we're confident you can do it with a little help. That's why today we're talking about how to grow, harvest, and prepare sage on your own. You might not realize that understanding how to care for sacred medicines is just as important as understanding how to use them. There isn't a lot of information out there about the respectful, sustainable, and ethical uses of sage. That's why we're here to provide reliable information about not only all of the sacred medicines, but a wide variety of Indigenous teachings. We've connected thousands of people with the resources they need to harvest and use sage responsibly. While sage can be easily purchased from a store, it's also possible to grow your own sage garden outside or grow sage indoors in a pot. If you like to have sage on hand for activities like smudging, it can be helpful to grow your own sage so that you have access to a sustainable source that can be harvested when needed. You'll need a small clay pot to get started. You'll likely have to repot the plant as it outgrows each container. Make sure the pots you use have plenty of drainage holes so the soil doesn't get too waterlogged. There are several ways to grow your own white sage, but the most common places to start are either with seeds or from cuttings from an existing sage plant. First, we'll talk about the methods of growing sage from seeds. How to grow sage from seeds. Growing sage from seeds is a little more time-consuming than from cuttings, but it can be an easy way to get started. You'll need shallow, loamy dirt and a little bit of time. Sage seeds can take about 2 to 3 weeks to germinate. Sage needs a lot of water at the beginning, right after you've planted the seeds, and then you can gradually reduce the water that you give the plant over time. Sage is a desert plant, so once it's growing, it really doesn't need as much water as you might expect. They do need a warm environment, so you might consider planting them indoors in a pot if you live somewhere that is likely to freeze. If you're ready to learn more about the sacred medicines and how to use them, you can download our free smudging guide at the link in the description and in the comments. Now, the second way to grow sage is from cuttings. Now, how to grow sage from cuttings. If you have access to an existing plant or have received some sage cuttings as a gift, you can easily grow your own plant using cuttings as a starting point. You'll need 3 to 4 inches of new sage growth. You can then plant 2 to 3 pairs of leaves in a single pot or among several pots if you prefer. Make sure you keep the soil evenly moist to help the new roots emerge. Again, after your plant has begun to grow, you can cut back on the water that you give it, since it is a desert plant and doesn't really require that much water. Have you tried to grow sage before? Let us know what tips or tricks worked for you in the comments below. One more quick note for you. For each method, you'll want to make sure your plant is getting at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight each day. If you're growing your plant indoors, you can replicate sunlight with lamps. Now that you know the 2 most common ways of growing your own sage, what do you do when it's time to harvest it? Now let's find out. There are a few tips to keep in mind when you're harvesting your sage. How to harvest sage. If possible, try to let your plant grow unbothered for at least a year or 2. This will allow the plant to fully develop and produce a healthy bloom. After that, harvesting the plant depends on how you intend to use the sage. If you're using the sage to produce cleansing smoke like smudging, you'll want to harvest it during the dry conditions when the leaves will burn better. The drier it is, the stronger the sage is for medicines and different kinds of ceremonies. For medicinal or food purposes, white sage can be harvested any time of the year. Whenever you choose to harvest your sage, try to avoid crushing the stems and instead cut the sage cleanly with pruners. Avoid taking more than a third of the plant at one time. This can permanently damage it. You'll also make your plant healthier and happier if you cut the newer parts of the plant and leave the older stems intact. If you follow these steps, you should find yourself with a thriving sage plant. Now, the final step is bundling and drying. Once you've harvested your sage, you can dry loose sage by laying it out in a dry area in low light. To create sage bundles, completely dry your sage by laying it in the sun. Then you can take multiple stems of the sage and group them together. Tie a piece of string around the stems, leaving extra string at the end to create a loop. This will allow you to hang your sage bundles in a dry, dark location. Air drying is the best and easiest way to prepare your sage and to get it ready for you to use. If you're not ready to grow your own sage, but want more information about this and other sacred medicines, be sure to check out our other videos where we discuss what sacred medicines are, the benefits of each type, and their various uses. If you're looking to join an inclusive community and a safe space to learn and share Indigenous knowledge, make sure to check out our Facebook group called Tribal Teachings. You can find the link in the description below. Now that you have all of the information you need, I can't wait for you to start growing your own sage so that you can get the full benefit of everything this amazing sacred medicine has to offer. Growing your own sage can be a very rewarding experience and make you feel more connected to yourself if you choose to smudge with it. You'll have seen the process through from start to finish, and that can create a very powerful environment for smudging successfully. If you're looking for ways to use your fresh sage, download our free smudging guide at the link below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for future videos and updates from us. Have you had any problems growing sage? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.